Level 50, remembering the past. Quest sync. Nananji appears to be in deep thought. The determined set of your jaw, the dynamic presence as if you're ever ready to leap into action. There's no mistake, you're an adventurer and a dependable one at that. Tell me, are you familiar with the name Louis Levier? Of course I am. Of course you are, of course you are. Forgive me my suddenness. I'm Nananji Nanonji, a budding writer, and I seek to pen a biography of the great man. In particular, I wish to cover his movements leading up to the calamity, and to that end, I've requested an interview with the Immortal Flames. He served the Eorzean Alliance as a tactician, you see, so there ought to be someone in the Order who had dealings with him. And while my request has thankfully been accepted, there's just one problem. I don't have much experience conducting interviews, and I'm worried whether I'll be able to do a proper job. As an adventurer, you're doubtless used to dealing with people. Thus, I would like to ask you to accompany me in the capacity of an assistant. It would be tremendously reassuring to simply have you watching on. And if you're amenable, afterwards I'd like to interview you as well for your own impressions. For your troubles, I'll be certain to credit you as a collaborator, so please won't you help me with my biography, that the memories of the calamity might be preserved for future generations. I am in your debt. To begin with, please come with me to Camp Drybone in Eastern Thanalin. There's a place I'd like to visit ahead of the interview. Yeah, I think it's the 10th anniversary thing. I think it might have something to do with 1.0. So, we'll check it out. Happened across it while I was doing, I happened to see it was in the list when I was doing data center travel yesterday. There you are, to explain why we're here. Oh, but I haven't even asked your name. How am I supposed to credit you if I don't even know that much? The Zili Lazarthi, champion of Eorzea. Small wonder I felt you were dependable. With one such as you helping me, everything will surely go well. But getting back to business, the interview I've arranged is with an officer of the Immortal Flames. As there's still time, however, I thought we'd pay a visit to the nearby graveyard first so I can explain my motivation for the biography. I come from a small village near the Cartano Flats. It was burned down in the calamity, and those who died were laid to rest here, my parents among them. It's hardly an uncommon tale. After the dread primal emerged from Dalamud, he unleashed fiery devastation across the length and breadth of Eorzea. But as much as the calamity has scarred the realm, it is quickly becoming just another event in the history books. Beyond occasionally giving thanks to the Archons that Eorzea was saved, people spare it little thought. But when you've lost so many loved ones, it's hard to feel that anything was saved. That's why I wish to know more about Louis. By learning about his part in Eorzea's salvation, I hope that I will attain closure. That's my motivation for writing the biography. It's also where you meet Hildebrand at. Now then, in preparation for the interview, let's review what is known about our subject. Difficult to find exactly when the 7th Umbral Calamity was set in motion. Many historians, however, point to the Empire's Meteor Project, which sought to bring Dalamud down upon Eorzea. It was the year 1562 of the 6th Astral Era. Seeking to combat the Imperial threat, Louis founded the Circle of Knowing, an order whose objective was the preservation of Eorzea. Through its members, the Archons of Charlayan, the Circle worked to unite the nations of Eorzea in common cause. The result was the formation of grand companies in the 3 city-states, the Immortal Flames, the Order of the Twin Adder, and the Maelstrom. None of these would exist now were it not for their efforts. And then in the year 1572, when the situation was coming to a head, Louis himself made the journey to Eorzea in secret and engaged with each of the nations. What took place during that time is what I seek to learn in the interview. Men were due to meet as the contact for the Free Brigade, a unit formed of adventurers, and he apparently had Louis assistance for a mission. The meeting place is High Bridge to the northeast. It's more or less time now, so let's make our way there. – ' I don't know a whole lot about 1.0. And they give you like bits and pieces throughout the story. There's some videos on YouTube about it. Maybe I'll look into that one day. You're the ones who seek an interview? I must say, I wasn't expecting to see the champion of Eorzea. I'm the Nanji Nanonji, the writer who made the request, and Zilly is kindly accompanying me for the interview. I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your busy schedule to humor me. Come now, no need for thanks. Like everyone, I hold Louisoix in highest esteem. If you wish to know about him, Holland Aubrey is always glad to oblige. Without further ado, then, let us begin. My understanding is you had dealings with Louisoix. Could you please tell me the details? As you know, our grand companies were formed thanks to the Circle of Knowing, but it wasn't until Dalamud began turning red that Louisoix first appeared. It began with the word that an elderly Elizan man had come to Gridania, who held the key to vanquishing primals. Upon learning of this, I sent an adventurer of the Free Brigade to make contact with him. I later learned that the Maelstrom and the Order of the Twin Adder had done the very same. At that time, our companies weren't yet collaborating. Each one only thought to stay ahead of the others. Truth be told, at first we didn't think much of Louisoix, only that he was the leader of scholars who studied peculiar prophecies. But when the adventurer reported back, our opinion of the man completely changed. With his spellcraft, Louisoix had opened the way into Ifrit's domain, and by the hand of dauntless adventurers, the Lord of the Inferno was brought low. Last many defeats preceded that victory. It was reported that countless charred corpses laid strewn in the bowl of embers. Now the mission also yielded a shocking revelation. Following the battle, Legatus Nal Van Dornis of the 7th Imperial Legion appeared and told the adventurer that the hour of reckoning was at hand, that Dalamud would soon fall and cleanse the land. That was when we realized that the Empire was behind the Red Moon's anomaly. So thanks to Louisoix, you came to be aware of the Meteor Project. Still, it doesn't seem like you had much to act upon. As you say, afterwards we scrambled to learn all we could about the project. For a blessing, we had the cooperation of a Garland defector, Sid Garland, whom you know well. He revealed the details of the project, that it utilized a transmission tower to pluck Dalamud from the heavens, all for the purpose of purging us savages from the realm. I could continue telling you what I know, but from this point on, there is someone better suited than I am. If you are interested, I would be glad to introduce you to this individual. What say you? Well now, we'd be keen to speak with this person indeed. Very well, I will send word to the Adder's Nest. If you could take yourselves to Apkalu Falls, I will arrange for a meeting there. You go to such lengths to help us. I can't say how grateful I am. Do not mention it. As I said, I hold Louisoix in the highest esteem. He was the one who brought our three nations together. Nothing would please me more than for him to be remembered. Well, it's past time I return to Uldai. Pray that the coming interview bears you fruit. It is surprising that like Coils isn't like mandatory, given how much story information there is. It's really hard to do on free trial. Lieutenant certainly has a great respect for Louisoix. It might be easier now that they've added cap to 70. And thanks to him, we have another promising interview. Come, let's head to Gridania, where the Archon had sojourned. I know it's supposed to be like harder. I mean, I did it, but like the hard part is that because it's not in like Party Finder. I mean, they could make like a quick, easy version just for like story's sake. I mean, I don't know how difficult that would be. From a programming standpoint, probably not all that hard. And they make you do Crystal Tower. Okay, where? Oh, Apkalu Falls. I have some Strider boots if I really want to run faster. But this is Apkalu Falls, a conspicuous lack of the creatures aside. It's quite a beautiful place. Now then, the person we're to meet should be along shortly. I was told there were those who wished to learn about Louissois, and who should one of them be but the champion of Eorzea? Well met. I, Lieutenant Ciro Fulk of the Order of Tornadder. Ew. Ananji Nanonji, at your service. Thank you for sparing the time to speak with us. Think nothing of it. I must say, though, that Lieutenant Aubrey chose the perfect spot for the subject matter. Louissois spent much time in rumination here in the days before the calamity. We Gridanians, being somewhat reserved by nature, at first the citizens kept their distance. Petra. But in time people warmed to him, and he patiently lent an ear to their troubles, healing hurts and offering counsel, and gradually earned their trust. To ignore the plight of those one might conceivably save is not wisdom, it is indolence. Louissois spoke those words and lived up to them. He was the epitome of a Charlian sage, and I recall myself being moved. Now, shortly after we had become aware of the Meteor Project, the hamlet of Quarrymel was attacked by the Primal Garuda. Both soldiers and civilians were among the casualties. And then what we're doing, just going through all the Primal encounters from 1.0. The Order of the Twin Adder moved to vanquish the Primal, but we were not alone. Through Louissois' mediation, we had the support of not only our sister Grand Companies, but capable adventurers the realm over besides. Using an artifact known as the Vortex Feather, the Archon opened the way for a band of adventurers to sally forth into Garuda's turbulent domain, where they felled the fearsome being. Upon her defeat, however, the Primal's dispersed ether did not return to the land. Instead, it was absorbed into the Red Moon Dalamud. When the Empire constructed a new base in Mordona, the Elder Seedseers saw the need for decisive action and put forth a proposal, the formal reformation of the Eorzean Alliance, which had for so long lain dormant. The initial response from the other nations was lukewarm at best. They felt that the burden to be borne by each party was excessive, and they were loath to do aught to place them at a disadvantage against their rivals. Frame rate keeps dropping pretty bad. Don't know why. But the revelation that a lunar transmitter had been erected in the Imperial base prompted a change of heart. The tower controlled Dalamud's descent. If it could be destroyed, then the Meteor Project would be forestalled. After having constantly been on the back foot, our nations were motivated to join hands. We might strike a decisive blow against the enemy. Thus was the Eorzean Alliance reformed as the Circle of Knowing had hoped. At the same juncture, Louissois was asked to join the Alliance as a tactician, and in that capacity provided sage counsel to our heads of state. So although he was at first treated with wariness, Louis earned our trust through his actions and paved the way to enduring cooperation between our nations. Indeed, were it not for him, we would all have perished divided. We owe Louis a great debt. Now then, I expect you might be interested in hearing about the operation to destroy the lunar transmitter. But for that tale, I would recommend you seek out another, a decorated soldier who actually took part in the operation. Although a hardened warrior, she is quite friendly and should be glad to regale you with her experiences. Shall I send her word on your behalf? We'd be duly grateful. Yeah, it keeps dropping to 58 and 59 FPS for some reason. Very well, if you could take yourselves to Maelstrom Command in Limsa Lamenza, I shall see to it that she knows to expect you. With that, I shall take my leave. I pray that the biography is a success. Everyone has been more helpful than I had dared to hope. It seems Louis Sois had quite an influence on others. I don't know, I wasn't around. That interview gave us some valuable insights into his character, and I'm eager to see what we learn in the next. Come, let's head to Limsa Lamenza. Right, Woody Major was pronouncing his name right till the Praetorium. Definitely know it now. Castle, okay. There it is, Maelstrom Command. Shall we then? Captain Lazalte, ever a sight for sore eyes, and you must be Nananji. Rashat Ricky at your service. I understand you wish to hear about the operation to destroy the lunar transmitter. Indeed, I'm penning a biography of the Archon Louis Sois. You see, for which I'm interviewing people who had dealings with him. I truly appreciate your time. You're very welcome. I would be glad to assist, even if it wasn't a request from Lieutenant Folk. Oh yeah, because I'm part of the Maelstrom, so I get a salute. Now then, to continue where he left off, it was shortly after the Eorzean alliance was formed. Our scouts returned with word that the 7th Legion had activated the lunar transmitter in their fortress in Mordona. Now known as Castrum Sentry, the fortress was originally called Castrum Novum before the 14th restored and renamed it. It was in order to break through its defenses and destroy the transmitter that our three nations joined hands. We were determined to succeed. The strategy that Louis Sois proposed was elegant in its simplicity. While our main force drew the Garleans' attention with an all-out siege, the elite band of adventurers would infiltrate the castrum and make for our objective. We had entrusted adventurers with ridding us of the primals. Now we entrusted them with the very fate of Eorzea. I still remember the operation as if it were yesterday. Though we met with fierce resistance, we fought more fiercely still. No matter the cost, we had to ensure that the adventurers had a chance to strike at the transmitter. When the messenger arrived bearing word that they had succeeded, it still makes my heart sore to recall that moment of triumph. That day we learned that, by standing together, the people of Eorzea could oppose even the might of the Empire. It is no exaggeration to say that the victory paved the way for Eorzea's future. Without it, there would not have been an Operation Archon. Alas, it wasn't all glad tidings, for though we destroyed the transmitter, now Van Darnus appeared and claimed that he no longer needed the device to bring down Dalamud, that he himself had the power to do so. So long as Van Darnus lived, the threat of destruction remained, and so, branding him an enemy to all life in Eorzea, the nations of the Alliance undertook a desperate manhunt. At length they located him in Coroithus and sent their greatest warriors to hunt him down. Leading that formidable band was the adventurer whom they called Warrior of Light, and though no records remain of the fierce encounter, one thing is certain: at battle's conclusion, Nell Van Darnus was brought low. As you know, however, our woes did not end with the White Raven, for Louis Swa and his disciples determined that Dalamud would continue to fall. In a last-ditch bid to prevent the realm's annihilation, the Circle of Knowing issued a request to Eeyores and Alliance to secure the Cartano Flats where the Red Moon was expected to crash. It was no simple task, for the entirety of the 7th Legion had amassed in Cartano, but it was necessary in order to perform a ritual to stop Dalamud, a ritual that invoked the power of the 12. So it was that Battle of Cartano was joined, and I dare say you know how the tale continues. To everyone's shock, the Elder Primal Bahamut emerged from Dalamud and proceeded to unleash his fury upon the realm. Aye, and though all bore witness as Louis Swa initiated the ritual, none remembered what came to pass afterwards, neither what happened to Bahamut, nor why the realm was reborn. The haze had afflicted memories of the calamity, but people remember events prior to that moment, yes? If so, do you know if anyone was near Louis Swa during the battle, someone who may have spoken with him? If someone was near him, I'm afraid I do not know. He was atop a rise for the ritual, while I was a good distance away on the front lines. My apologies. No, please don't apologize. You've shared a wealth of information and I couldn't ask for more. Well, if you're satisfied, then so am I. With that, I shall return to my duties. I look forward to reading the biography when it's finished. Now I have a grasp of events leading up to the calamity, and yet... Oh, forgive me, I was in deep thought. In no small part due to your help, I've managed to learn a great deal. There is still more that I wish to know. Might I trouble you to accompany me a little longer? If you're willing, please let me know. Remembering the past, complete. Preserving the future, level 50. Nananji desires more information for Louis Swa's biography. You'll continue accompanying me then. Wonderful. Come, let's head to Drowning Wench to discuss our next move. Our research proceeds apace so far. We've even learned things not found in literature. But tell me, based on what you've heard from our interviewees, what is your opinion of Louis Swa? What will you say? He's an exceptional leader. He had a difficult task. Others deserve more credit. You say he had a difficult task. Indeed, from an Imperial invasion to rampaging primals to Nell Van Darnus' scheme, he had to contend with the toughest of problems. What struck me was how grateful the interviewees were to Louis Swa for bringing their nations together in cooperation. It was nothing short of necessary for our survival. Yet knowing this, I can't help but wonder, in his capacity as a tactician, it seems to me he had done more than enough by devising a plan and facilitating its execution. He went far beyond that, risking life and limb on the front lines for a land not his own. Perhaps he needed to be there for the ritual. Perhaps he felt a sense of duty. Even so, as noble as it is to desire to help others, what good is it if you end up sacrificing yourself? What was it that compelled Louis Swa to go to Cartano, and what went through his mind as the battle unfolded? In order to do his biography justice, I feel I need to know these things. Louis Swa had people near him at the time. Perhaps he shared words with them in his final moments, words that could provide some insights. But where to begin searching for such individuals, assuming they exist? Sorry, friends, but I couldn't help overhear your conversation. Just so happens I know a bloke has served among Louis Swa's guard at Cartano. Truly, you know someone who was with him? Aye, as far as I'm aware, he wasn't keeping the fact a secret. Just for good measure, though, why do you want to speak with him? Louis Swa's biography, eh? In that case, I reckon the bloke would be willing to cooperate. Orn Gwinkum's name, and he was a lieutenant of the Maelstrom. After the calamity, he turned to adventuring so as to be a greater help to the common folk. Maelstrom officer turned adventurer. We'd be most keen to speak with him. Where might he be found? When Orrin dropped in the other day, he said that he had business at the Morby dry docks. If you're lucky, it might be as he's still there. Understood. We're in your debt. We can't let this chance pass us by. Zilly, let's take ourselves to dry docks at once. The Morby. I don't know, I don't recall seeing this quest before the patch update, but I haven't been to Oldar in a bit. Right, where could Orrin be? In hindsight, we should have asked what he looks like. His name would suggest he's a Midlander, but Well, nothing for it but to make inquiries. Let's split up for the task and meet again here. A lot of people here. I'm sorry, but I've only just started helping out here. I'm still learning our customers' names. I couldn't say if it's the person you're after, but a man did come by earlier who appeared to be an adventurer. He bought a Nymea lily that we're currently trialing. Okay. Rogadin Porter. Orrin, as it happens, I spoke with him just earlier. He said that he wanted to buy flowers, so I directed him to a vendor. Not sure where he is as of now, though. Looking for Orrin Winkham, you say? Don't know anyone by that name, I'm afraid. I did walk by an unfamiliar fellow just now, though, over by the mark of the spinner. He had a flower in his hand, so he caught my eye. You have an inkling as to where Orrin might be. Time to rejoin the Nanji. Nanaji. There you are, Zilly. Were you able to learn anything? The man who could be Orrin bought a Nymea lily, then he went to the mark of the spinner. If we hurry there, we might be able to find him. Let's go. I don't know where the mark of the spinner is. Been all throughout this land. Oh, is that what this place is called? Is that what that thing is? I've seen that thing before. I didn't know what it was. Oh, because it looks like a spinning wheel. Okay. There are like a lot of little landmarks that like look like they could be something, but they're not something. So I figured they were part of 1.0. They just brought them over to the next map because they might have been used in 1.0 for something. So you can't get rid of them. Begging your pardon, sir, but are you Lieutenant Orrin Winkham? I haven't been a lieutenant for years, but that's me. Like generic Thancred. What can I do for you? I realize this is sudden, but so you're writing Louis Suave's biography. I want to hear my account as someone who was near on hand at Cartonneau. must be a reason that you're here, too. The warrior of light who led us to victory in Operation Archon? Very well, I will tell you my tale. Now then, where to begin? As you know, the battle was fought over the land where Dalamud was expected to fall. In the beginning, neither side was able to gain the upper hand, but when the Imperials deployed their Magitech armor, our ranks were thrown into disarray. Those charged with protecting Louis Sois like me could only watch the carnage from afar, and though our forces managed to hold out thanks to the adventurer contingent, we sustained grievous casualties. But the real tragedy was what followed. As Dalamud hurtled towards us, it began shedding fragments of itself before finally bursting open to unleash the primal Bahamut. As all below looked on in shock, the battle completely forgotten. Bahamut took wing and spewed fire all over the land. Men in Magitech armor alike were set ablaze and sent flying like so many insects. I only realized that I had stopped breathing when a commanding voice broke my trance. "You've done enough," Louis Sois told us. "Now fly. Fly and save yourselves." Like my fellow guards, I wanted to remain. I couldn't charge into battle beside my comrades. At the very least, I would do my duty here and protect Louis Sois to the last. But upon seeing us standing there, not making the move, Louis Sois smiled and spoke thus: "You would give your lives to protect something and protect my hopes. Every soul who lives to determine their own fate is a source of hope, bright and brilliant. So live, I bid you, and be among those who bear the light for others to follow." Those words awakened us to a greater purpose. If there was hope in my living, then I would live as Louis Sois bid. No matter what, I would survive, and so, together with my fellows, I began making my retreat. Last, we hadn't gotten far when an explosion erupted and sent us sprawling. I struggled to my feet just in time to see the enormous, menacing silhouette of Bahamut looming over Louis Sois. In the next instant, he was enveloped in light, and that was the last I remember of him. Louis Sois' final moment. Amidst that light, he looked to be smiling. What he was thinking in that moment, I couldn't say, but one thing is certain: all of us are alive thanks to him. My frame rate keeps dropping. Following the calamity, it was reported that Louis Sois had defeated Bahamut and set about the land's miraculous regeneration. Do you believe this is the truth? Every soul who lives to determine their own fate is a source of hope. What we've learned has reaffirmed my beliefs, Zilly. The belief that Louis Sois was not an all-powerful savior one reads about in tales, but merely an ordinary man. But that man never forsook Eorzea. No, he stood for this realm to the last, he and countless other brave souls, and saved it from becoming a scorched waste. Against unimaginable adversity, he fought, and at the cost of his life, paved the way for a brighter future for us all. The least I can do in return is tell his story, spread his message that where there is life, there is hope. Thanks to your account, I believe I found an angle for the biography. I'm truly grateful. It's a biography. What kind of angle do you need? Do you care to offer a prayer as well? The prayer that light of hope which Louis Sois preserved shall ever burn bright. Allow me to thank you again for recounting your experiences to us. Nay, 'tis I who owes you thanks for giving me the chance to share Louis' words. All these years I had avoided speaking of the moment of his passing out of respect, but it would not do to take the tale to my grave. Through the biography, it is my hope that his spirit will live on in all of us. Now then, if you'll excuse me, I shall resume my pilgrimage to the marks. Wherever your travels take you, I shall be praying for your safety. Amia Lily is a symbol of safe passage. As Louis stood there in Cartano, I wonder if he likewise prayed for someone's safety. At any rate, these interviews have yielded everything I had hoped for and more. Come, let's return to Ul'dah. I'll have your reward for you at Ul'dah at the Hall of Flames. Alright. Nice little trip down memory lane. I don't know. My only real interest in 1.0 is just like story-wise and what like some of the main differences were. So, I mean, I'll look into some videos at some point, but I mean, it's a shame you can't play it anymore, even though I know it's like real bad, but you have to go back and kind of just see how it is. That's kind of a shame with the games disappearing. There you are. I ended up troubling you longer than I had intended, but it was a truly fruitful series of interviews. How fortunate that we could hear from those who lived that fateful time. While I still have many questions, the biography is beginning to take shape in my mind. I also feel as though I've attained a measure of closure. Louis fought simply as one of us, and he made the ultimate sacrifice that hope might endure. This I've come to realize and appreciate thanks to everyone's heartfelt testimonies. Now then, last but not least, I'd like to ask you for your thoughts on something. According to Orn, Louis smiled in his final moment. As he was enveloped in light, what do you imagine he held in his mind? The image of mankind thriving in the future? It's pointless to speculate on such things. I see. I appreciate your thoughts. As I pin the biography, I'll be certain to remember your words. Well, sad though it is, it's time for us to part ways. I'll set to work on a draft, and I won't rest until the biography goes to print. Thank you for all your help, my friend. I couldn't have come this far without you. Level 50, Preserving the Future, complete. End of an era, Framer's Kit. Okay, well that was a nice little side thing to do.